Morning. Do you hear me?
We hear
Yeah.
you, Dr. John,
Okay.
and we'll
Okay.
see you clearly. We're so happy to have you
Thank
here.
you. Thank
We're
you
so
so much.
honored to have you here today. We had a wonderful start today by Professor Nali Gorastani. Our second speaker invited talk is by Dr. Mehdi Purmohammad. Allow me to introduce Dr. Purmohammad. I
Thank
mean,
you so much.
he's a faculty member of the Institute for Cognitive and Brain Sciences, Shahid Beheshti University. He obtained his PhD from the University of Bern. His research focuses on bilingualism, second language acquisition, and the relation between language and other cognitive functions. He uses a wide range of behavioral and experimental techniques for his research. He has played, indeed, a very key role in advancing cognitive neuroscience of language in Iran by mentoring students. I've been following your podcast interviews. You've been doing
Thank you so
great with
much.
the podcast
Thanks.
interviews and also writing books in Persian, which is really great. I mean, making
Thank
students
you.
familiar with the state of the art in psycholinguistics, multilingualism, and neurolinguistics. So, his talk will be on bilingual compound words. Without any delay, let's welcome Dr. Purmohammad. Dr. Purmohammad, we're so happy you're here. So you will have half an hour, and then I will give you a heads up in the last 5 minutes for the time management, and then we'll have like 5 minutes for question and answer. Thank you
Uh,
very much. The floor is yours.
uh, Thank you so much, Dr. Mominian. I would like to thank all the people involved in organizing the event. And I would like to thank Dr. Safavi and Ms. Paisos Furi, to whom I am in contact. I will start my talk in bilingual language, but bilingual compound verbs. There are two main ways for conveying meaning in the verb form in Farsi. One way is using simple verb form like khord, ahmad, or raft, and the other way is to use compound verb form like harakat kard, kotak zad, or blah blah. But the one thing that is more interesting is that compound verb outnumbers simple verbs in Farsi, and we use a lot of compound verbs in Persian. But for the compound verbs formed by the combination process, a noun, adjective, adverb, or prepositional phrase are combined with a light verb, like اجازه داد means uh, permission gave, or to permit. تنبیه کرد means punishment, or to punish, to punish. And کردن is a light verb in Farsi, and it in about one third of Persian compound verb use kardan as a light verbs. But what is interesting for us is the formation of the bilingual or switch compound verbs. Switch compound verbs are consist of light verb form from the matrix or from the base language, and a lexical verb from the other language. And the main structure of bilingual compound verb in many languages, language contexts, are alien verb and a light verb. Uh, for our case, I mean, the bilingual compound verb in the Persian English context is that a verb from English is inserted in the nominal constituent of the compound verb. For example, we have اجازه اضافه میکنم. But the bilingual compound verb is I add میکنم. من add میکنم. Okay. We just want to say that bilingual or switch compound verbs follow some sort of systematicity. And for example, not all available information about a verb is retrieved from the mental lexicon when forming a bilingual compound verb. For example, in insist kardam, we know that we want to express the verb in the past tense, but we don't say insisted kardam. It means that the light verb carries the past tense information and we don't use insisted kardam. Or and in based on our naturalistic data, in 85% of the bilingual compound verb, we use the same light verb used in the monolingual compound verb. For example, pishnahad dot, offer dot. The same light verb is used in the bilingual compound verb. But one thing is interesting, that if the same light verb is not used, we may use the kardan. Why? Because kardan is the most frequent light verb in Farsi. This also shows some sort of systematicity in forming bilingual compound verb. But bilingual or switch compound verb uh, does not know any typological or geographical limits. It occurs in many language context conditions, from Greece to Australian, English to Tamil, Japanese and English language contexts. As Dr. Momanian stated, code switching in general and bilingual compound verb attracted the attention of the researcher for over more than 50 or 60 years. And there are a lot of idea about the code switching from different aspects, sociolinguistics, structural studies, and psycholinguistics, and recently neurolinguistics. Sociolinguistics is looking for the social factors underlying the code switching. For example, belongingness. When a code switch, he might show his belongingness, but it is not the whole story. Please remember, and or belonging, intimacy, or excluding or including one interlocutor among the interlocutors. And in structural studies, the people or researchers are looking for the grammar of the code switching and formulating some constraint on code switching. For example, Pefov stated that code switching is not allowed at point where the two languages in contact do not share the same word or the representation. That is very interesting. If this were true, a lot of code switching that is happening are not allowed. But just going narrower into our statement, you know that in order to construct a syntactic structure in any languages, some slots are need to be filled by lexical items. Okay, for example, the subject needs to be filled by a noun lexical item. For example, Martin went home. The subject are fulfilled by a noun. For example, Martin. Went is a verb. This slot needs to be fulfilled by a verb. But one thing that is interesting is that it doesn't occur in bilingual compound verb. Ma ısrar kardin or ma ısrar nakardin. When a compound verb in Farsi is going to be constructed, a nominal constituent plus a light verb are combined. But here, a verb was replaced in the place of a noun. That is the one thing that we were looking for to investigate. Then we just ask ourselves how a lexical element corresponding to a verb node can be placed in a slot that corresponds to a lemma noun. Okay, But before going to this issue, I would like to talk a little about the network models, the incremental network models, and for example, Levold, Roloff, and some other people. Okay, the mental lexicon is a network of nodes and links. When a concept is uh, activated, for example, the concept of a book or a cat, uh, activation is spread to the lemma level. At the lemma level, the syntactic information is retrieved from the mental lexicon. For example, the information about the number, the gender, or about the featural node tense and the grammatical category. All of these information are retrieved at the lemma level. Then, when the lemma level are activated and all the information is retrieved, we go next to the word form level. Okay, it is interesting to say that the language law node was introduced by David Green, and he suggested that all the lexical items belonging to the Farsi languages are linked to a node that indicates these words are Farsi words, not, for example, the English words. Okay, and then activation of a lemon node automatically leads to activation of the relevant language node, featural node, and the category node. Okay, chapter two of this book may give some insight into or understanding of the stages conceptual level, lemma level, lexeme level, and the incremental networks models, uh, and might be interesting to read chapter two. Okay, then one interesting thing is that Roloff and people like Lieveld suggest that when a concept, for example, a dog, is activated, activation spread to the semantically related nouns such as dog, cat, and also some semantically related verbs such as bark. Okay, then in these models activation is not constrained by grammatical class of the lexical items. Okay, both verbs and related, nouns are activated at the conceptual level. But please remember that at the conceptual level we don't have language, but we only have concepts. Okay, concepts of the dog, the concept of the bark. Okay, okay. Then the model only, the incremental models only propose that a target concept activate two words of different grammatical category. And one thing that we need to know is that activation is different from selection. Not all activated lemmas, not all activated concepts are selected for production. Okay. Okay. Then we just came to some questions in the case of bilingual or switch compound verbs. Uh, we just ask ourselves whether two items having different grammatical category can compete for selection. They are activated, but are they do they compete for selection, or does grammatical category provide a rigid constraint on lexical access, and how lexical, in the case of the bilingual or switch compound verb, how a lexical element corresponding to a verb node can be placed in a slot that corresponds to a lemma, to a no noun lemma. Okay, and how we can capture the processing into a model of language production. Okay, we hypothesize based on the naturalistic data that we had. We hypothesize that lexical nodes corresponding to verb from the other language can enter into competition queue with lexical notes that correspond to noun category. Okay, we use picture word interference paradigm. In this paradigm, that is one of the most frequent paradigms in psycholinguistics or neurolinguistics, that gave us a lot of information about language processing. A picture or a picture of a common object is presented to participants along with some one distractor. The distractor could be phonologically, semantically, orthographically, or morphologically related or unrelated to the target stimulus. Okay, for example, a picture of a cow is presented to the participant along with the name of sheep. Okay, sheep and cow are semantically related. We just want to see whether the distractor word compete for selection with the target stimulus or not. Okay, we use this paradigm, this very popular paradigm, in bilingual studies. And we just wanted to see whether the same behavior occur in the bilingual situations or not, and whether words from two different languages compete for selection or not. In this situation, then when we present the picture, and we just ask people to name the picture in Farsi, the distractor would be from the other language, for example, German or English. Okay, Persian English bilinguals I attended in our experiment, and we had four experimental conditions in our experiment, 20 stimulus in each condition. Um, In condition one, participant name pictures of action using a Persian compound verb in the context of its English equivalent distractor verb. In condition and also in the presence, yes, in condition two, only the nominal constituent, as you can see in our slide, the only the nominal constituents was produced in the presence of the light verb of the target Persian compound verb, and in the context of a semantically closely related English distractor verb. In condition three, the whole Persian compound verb was produced in the context of a semantically unrelated English distractor verb. And in condition four, only the nominal, as in, I mean, condition two, only the nominal constituent was produced in the presence of the light verb of the target Persian compound verb, and in the context of a semantically unrelated English distractor or verb. Okay, we hypothesize that there shouldn't be a facilitatory effect when participants have to complete the nominal constituent of a Persian compound verb in the context of a semantically closely related distractor verb from the other language. I mean, in condition two, then naming latency should be longer in condition two, because we hypothesize that words from the two languages, the nominal constituent of the Persian compound verb is competing with the verb in English. Okay. Then, if this were the case, it provides some evidence that English verb compete with the nominal constituent. Then it just present us with evidence that words from different categories across the two languages of bilinguals can compete for selection. Then this is the procedure that we designed. The target stimulus were presented for 4,000 millisecond. Participants were instructed to name the pictures of action as quickly and as accurately as possible in Persian. Please just remember that whenever you're asking people to, they just give them some instruction, please just include these two important words. As quickly and as accurately as possible. It is not enough to just be quick. It is not enough to just be accurate because they need to be both accurate and fast. Okay, we just manipulated two factors, linguistic units. Verbs could come as compound verb as a whole, or only the nominal constituent of the compound verb. And in relation, you could see that in some condition where the distractors were semantically closely related, and in some other condition, verbs were semantically unrelated. Okay, and we did some analysis. We also did some other correlational analysis and to see whether there are some correlational, relation between, some other factors. For example, language proficiency. Language proficiency is very, very important in bilingual psycholinguistic studies. Exposure to English. To what extent they are exposed to English in their daily life, and the amount of using bilingual compound verbs and the years of education. And Jubin, Abu Talib just recommended to focus more on the, on the language proficiency. We divided people into based on the language proficiency and just did some analysis. Okay, the daily exposure to English and the self-reported amount of using bilingual compound verb had some significant, relation with their responses. And why this happened? Because with more exposure to some items from the other language possess a lower activation level or threshold than their equivalent in the L1 due to more frequent and more recent use. Okay, for example, some Persian German bilinguals may use frequently the word Bahnhof because Bahnhof is used frequently, and the Bahnhof may have lower activation threshold at least for people living in German. Yes, Dr. Momina?
You've got 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. I skipped some. We found that naming latency were longer in the nominal linguistic unit. When they just wanted to say the nominal constituent, and that was or result and naming latencies in the semantically related nominal linguistic unit were longer compared to responsive latency in the semantic unrelated. This may show that the words across the two languages, compete for selections. Okay, the highly proficient bilinguals were faster to name in the semantically related conditions than low proficient speakers. Okay, we just asked whether in the case of production of the bilingual compound verb, the English verb competes with the corresponding Persian compound verb as a whole, or whether the English verb compete with the nominal constituent of the Persian compound verb only. Uh, Okay, and our result, we just argued that if words from the different categories across the two languages compete to be used in the place of nominal constituent of bilingual compound verb, we should have observed inhibition in this condition. However, if the competition occurs between English and in Persian English verb as a whole, a facilitation effect is expected in this condition. Mm, but we found longer RT when completing the nominal case. Does not provide rigid constraint on lexical access during the production of the bilingual compound verbs. That is the result that we found, and we may ask ourselves why this happened, why a verb from the other language is inserted in the slot that corresponds to a noun in the in the base language. There are some assumptions. One is that it might be an unsuccessful retrieval of the appropriate lemma. But this assumption might not be that satisfactory because the bilingual compound verb are too frequent to be explained over a unsuccessful retrieval because it occurs frequently in many language contexts. And some other people say that when we borrow some items from the other language, we may not borrow verbs. They are actually nouns, but we can see that the inherent features of lexical items like verb, noun, may not be subject to change. And the other assumption could be that when since access to lexical item at a lemma does not automatically lead to the access to its grammatical features, the grammatical category like verb, noun is not activated. But result from the other studies show that the inherently activated, the verb node or is inherently activated whenever the lemma node is activated. Okay, our explanation is that we can explain the result in terms of the activation and inhibition process, and we just developed a model for that. The bold lines shows that these items and the information are activated because they have lower activation threshold levels. They are selected for production. And recently we just developed the model, and we captured the production in a model. Okay, then both monolinguals and bilingual models should consider that in some cases selection might not respect the word class. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mehdi. That was an
Thank you.
amazing talk. Thank you, Dr. Purmohammad, for
Thank
being with
you.
us here. It was a
Thank
great
you.
pleasure to see you. So
Thank
we'll
you so
move
much for
forward.
having me here.
Sure. Thank you.